Yeah, it's a loaded question for sure. It was interesting because for most of my life, I was in pretty predominantly white spaces. I went to a tiny little school, private school, that didn't have a lot of diversity. I think Seattle has gotten more diverse over time, but at that point, it wasn't as much. And so I didn't really feel connected to my culture, and everything I kind of knew about it was just through my immediate family. I think my parents did a pretty good job of like maintaining the food and the language and those things. I would say like my generation, so my brothers and I definitely lost some of the language, and there's some of that happening, just you assimilate into your environment. But it definitely kind of growing up trying to juggle these very, very different identities. And I think through most of my early formative years, I wasn't as connected to the culture beyond sort of whatever my immediate family was showing me in our home and through our food and our clothing and those kinds of things. A lot of my friends growing up were not people of color, definitely not Indo-Fijian. And then it was also really interesting growing up Indo-Fijian because anytime we would meet other Indians, there was like a cultural divide that kind of existed even internally. People sort of look at us and think, you're Indian, you must just get along or feel connected to every other Indian person, other Indian immigrants. And our story is so different because there's such a small number of Indo-Fijians in the world, but also specifically in the United States. And so it felt a little bit isolating at times. And we had to figure out how to sort of be who we were in an environment where our culture was so unknown. And I remember even like growing up, so many people when they'd say, where are you from? And if you said Fiji, they're like, where's Fiji? Like nowadays people know it, shout out to like Fiji water and a lot of these things that have kind of made and the internet and things that have made the world a little bit more globalized. But like in the 90s when I was growing up as a kid, nobody knew. And if you said Fiji, then they're like, but aren't you Indian? It's like, yes. And I had a really hard time with the question, where are you from, for a long part of my life, because I didn't know how to answer that in a succinct way, and not have to deal with all these sort of follow-up questions that came with it. So I think I spent a lot of my life feeling culturally orphaned, too sort of Americanized for the Indian community, also too Indo-Fijian for the Indian community, but never really fitting in with a lot of American folks as well. So it was just a lot of juggling that and figuring out like, who am I? What is my relationship with the idea of where am I from? And how do I sort of claim an identity in the Pacific Northwest, in the Seattle area, and learn to celebrate that. So, yeah. So I brought in a mug that is sort of a piece of merch, I guess, Jess Pillay music merch. And it's the cover, on the mug is the cover art of a song that I wrote a few years ago called Telling You the Truth, which is a song about the racial microaggressions that I have faced throughout my life as a person of color and the daughter of immigrants. Again, going back to that question of where are you from? And the sort of strangeness that sometimes comes with the way that I answer that question. And so I had that idea in my head and wanted to write a song about it, and ended up having both of my brothers, who are also pretty musical, play on that particular track. And so when the project was done, we decided to release the song as a single initially, so we needed some cover art for it. And a friend of mine did some beautiful like hand-drawn artwork for it. And we loved it so much that I was like, I can't just have this as one piece hanging in my house. And so I ended up making some mugs to go with it that I gifted to my whole family. So my parents both have one and my brothers have one, and I have one. So yeah, that's what it represents.